We have to pay special attention and be extra careful in Spanish when we're saying this and these or that and those. Now, in Spanish, there's actually 3 words for this. We can say este, esta, or esto. So all 3 words function as this depending upon what we're talking about. As an example, let's take the word book, which we already know is libro. So it's ending in an o, making it a masculine word, libro. If we wanted to say this book, it would be este libro. We choose este because that goes with masculine words. So libro, book, is a masculine word. So we have este libro for this book. Another example is the word for man, which is hombre, hombre, and it is a masculine word. So to say this man, we would choose este hombre. So we have este functioning as this whenever we're combining it with masculine words. Este libro, este hombre, este carro, anything that's masculine is este. For feminine words, we have to switch and we use esta, ending in an A. So we have the word for house, which is casa. Ending in an A, it's a feminine word. So to say this house, we would now switch to esta casa because we're matching it, right? Putting it into agreement. We're talking about something feminine here. Casa is classified as a feminine word ending in A, so therefore we want to match the this. We have esta casa. If you said este casa, you would be understood, but it would sound immediately wrong to the ears of a native Spanish speaker. Another example would be the word for table, which is mesa. Again, ending in A, it's a feminine word. So to say this table, it would be esta mesa. The word for woman is mujer. This JE has kind of like a H sound. Mujer. Mujer is woman. And again, to say this woman, it would be esta mujer. So you see that it doesn't matter if the word ends in A or not. If it's classified as a feminine word, we'll always use esta for this. If it's classed as a masculine word, we'll always use este. So one other thing I'd like to also mention at this point is to not get confused, because we have esta meaning this with feminine words, but we also have esta, the verb for he is, she is, or it is. And the only difference between them is that one has an accent over the A and the other doesn't. So they're pronounced differently. Just this on its own is esta. Esta is this. But if we're using the verb, it would be está. You want to stress it to reflect that it has an accent. And that is the only way of differentiating between this and he is, she is, or it is. We have esta for this and está for he is, she is, and it is. Before closing this video, I'd like to go back over some of the previous words we've been working with. For example, how would you say this morning? Esta mañana. So here, mañana means tomorrow or it means morning. Ending in A, it's a feminine word. So therefore, this morning would be esta mañana. What about the word for tonight? Esta noche. Again, noche is a feminine word. So the night would be la noche, or a night, una noche. It's classified as a feminine word. So if we're saying this night, meaning tonight, then that's why we have esta noche, because noche is a feminine word. So just to recap, we have este for this with masculine words and esta for this with feminine words. In the last video, I mentioned how we had 3 words in Spanish for this. We have este, esta, and esto. Now, esto comes into play when there's no noun in the sentence. Simply esto means this. For example, I want this. It's simply quiero esto. Now, if we go back to the sentence there, I want this, there's no noun to agree with in the sentence. It doesn't have to agree or to match with anything. We're simply saying, I want this. And for that, you can simply say, quiero esto. It's kind of a neutral way of saying this. How would you say he needs this? Necesita esto. I can do this. Puedo hacer esto. I just did this. Acabo de hacer esto. Now that we have all three versions for this, we can take things one step further and start saying this is. So, for example, this is a book would be este es un libro. So it's all matching together. We have libro as a masculine word. So we have un instead of una, and we have este instead of esta. So everything is matching this masculine word. Este and un. Este es un libro. This is a book. On the flip side, if we were saying this is a house, so now we're talking about a feminine word, casa, well then we would switch into esta es una casa. Again, you can see how it all matches together. We have esta for this and una for a, because we're talking or referring to something that's classified as a feminine word. So once again, este es un libro, this is a book, but esta es una casa, for this is a house. How would you say this is a man? Este es un hombre. This is a woman. Esta es una mujer. So just to recap once more, if we have no noun in the sentence, so nothing to agree with, for example, this is good, it would be esto es bueno. How would you say we're going to do this? Vamos a hacer esto. I can't do this now. No puedo hacer esto ahora. In the next video, we'll do a short drill so that you can really get the hang of this. In part 3, we're going to do some practice, but first we need some nouns to work with. And I thought we would look again at the words we got from our picture vocabulary. First of all, let's go with Cancun. So, what are the two words that you can use for the pool? La alberca or la piscina. The bar. El bar. The drink. La bebida. The cloud. La nube. The sun. El sol. The sea. El mar. The summer. El verano. The breeze. La brisa. The background or the bottom. El fondo. The palapa. La palapa. Now let's switch into vocabulary from the picture of New York. The city. La ciudad. The window. La ventana. The street. La calle. The sidewalk. La acera. The tree. El árbol. The traffic light. El semáforo. The pedestrian crossing. El paso de peatones. The sky. El cielo. The taxi. El taxi. The building. El edificio. Now let's practice applying the correct version of this to those nouns. How would you say this pool? Esta alberca, esta piscina. This bar, este bar. This drink, esta bebida. This cloud, esta nube. This sun, este sol. This sea, este mar. This summer, este verano. This breeze, esta brisa. This background, este fondo. This palapa, esta palapa. This city, esta ciudad. This window, esta ventana. This street, esta calle. This sidewalk, esta acera. This tree, este árbol. This traffic light, este semáforo. This pedestrian crossing, este paso de peatones. This sky, este cielo. This taxi, este taxi. This building, este edificio. How would you ask? Can you do this today? ¿Puedes hacer esto hoy? What is this? ¿Qué es esto? This is terrible. Esto es terrible. This isn't possible. Esto no es posible. This is very good. Esto es muy bien. This isn't very good. Esto no es muy bien. Welcome to part 4 of this and these. So we've already established that the word this in Spanish can be 3 variables. We have este if it's a masculine word, esta if it's a feminine word, and esto if it's just something neutral. So now what we want to do is make the leap into these. So in other words, plurals. We'll begin with feminine words, and all you do is just take esta and add an s. So the sound you get is estas, estas. So for example, this house would be esta casa, but these houses would be estas casas. You can see how the s is being added here for these. Another example would be this window, we have esta ventana, but these windows, estas ventanas. You see how it's matching here and here. Now this with feminine words or feminine nouns is very regular in Spanish, but we come across a little problem with masculine words because something irregular happens. We have este for this, but it goes to estos for these. So you can see the irregularity here where we wouldn't add an s, have estes. Instead, it goes to estos. So this is the little irregularity that we must be aware of when it comes to masculine words. For example, we have the book would be este libro, but these books goes to estos libros. Or we could take this man, este hombre, but these men, again, estos hombres. Let's put it on one slide. On the feminine side, you can see very regular, esta and estas. But on the masculine side, we have this irregularity going from este to estos. So that's the main thing to watch out for. Let's practice a little bit now. The man is el hombre. So how would you say this man? Este hombre. How would you say these men? Estos hombres. Switching over to the feminine side, we'll take the house, la casa. How would you say this house? Esta casa. These houses. Estas casas. Let's switch back again. The book is el libro. How would you say this book? Este libro. These books. Estos libros. The street in Spanish is la calle. La calle. How would you say this street? Esta calle. These streets. Estas calles. So the main thing to take away from part 4 is that you can see on the feminine side, it's very regular. Esta goes to estas. But on the masculine side, we have this irregular change that happens going from este to estos. So just be aware of that. Let's finish off with one more drill. We're going to be using este, esta, estos, and estas. We'll primarily focus on the plurals for practice. Remember that you first focus on the noun itself, and you must decide whether it's masculine or feminine, because that will affect your answer. How would you say these taxis? Estos taxis. These books. Estos libros. This city. Esta ciudad. These trees. Estos árboles. These traffic lights. Estos semáforos. This pedestrian crossing. Este paso de peatones. These palapas. Estas palapas. These buildings. Estos edificios. These windows. Estas ventanas. These drinks. Estas bebidas. This summer. Este verano. These streets. Estas calles. This breeze. Esta brisa. This bar. Este bar. This pool. Esta alberca. Esta piscina. These men. Estos hombres. This background. Este fondo. These clouds. Estas nubes. These women. Estas mujeres. These houses. Estas casas. This sidewalk. Esta acera. Be careful with this last one. How would you say these days? Estos días.